ladies and gentlemen, the galaxy of intellectuals, chief guest of today's session, faculties and dear students. A very good afternoon to one and all. Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwara, Guru Sakshat Parabrahma, Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. It gives me immense pleasure to welcome you all to this August gathering on behalf of Genetics Club and Postgraduate School IARI to the Teachers' Day Lecture 2015. Teacher is the one who tapped the fertile mind of the students, plant the seeds of curiosity, inculcates values, instill a love of learning, and ignites the spark of imagination to unimaginable heights. In India, 5th September is celebrated as Teachers' Day as a mark of tribute to late Dr. Sarvepalli Radhakrishnan, who was one of the most distinguished 20th century scholars of comparative religion and philosophy. He was the first Vice President and second President of independent India. Dr. S. Radhakrishnan was a man of distinct vision, a staunch believer of education, a fountainhead of illuminating ideas, and above all, a great teacher. To commemorate the selfless effort of this great philosopher and great gurus of this nation, we celebrate his birth anniversary as Teachers' Day every year. First of all, I take the proud privilege in inviting the dignitaries to the dais. Honorable Chairman of the function, Padma Bhushan Dr. R.B. Singh sir, former Director, IARA and Chairman, ASRB. Honorable Speaker of today's lecture, Professor P.K. Gupta, Emeritus Professor and INSA Senior Scientist, Chaudhary Charan Singh University, Meerut. Our respected Director, Dr. Trilochan Mahapatra. Our beloved Dean and Joint Director Education, Dr. R.K. Jain. Dr. Vinod, Professor, Division of Genetics and the President of the Genetics Club, IARI. Welcome to the dais. We begin with an invocation to Goddess Saraswati by PG school students.
जय जय हे भगवती सुर भारती तव चरणों प्रणमाम्यहम्। जय जय हे भगवती सुर भारती तव चरणों प्रणमाम्यहम्। नाद ब्रह्ममयी जय वागेश्वरी, नाद ब्रह्ममयी जय वागेश्वरी, शरणं ते गच्छाम्यहम्। जय जय हे भगवती सुर भारती तव चरणों प्रणमाम्यहम्। त्वमसि शरण्या त्रिभुवन धन्या, त्वमसि शरण्या त्रिभुवन धन्या, सुरमुनि वन्दित चरणा। नवरस मधुरा कविता मुखरा, नवरस मधुरा कविता मुखरा, स्मित रुचि रुचिराभरणा। जय जय हे भगवती सुर भारती तव चरणों प्रणमाम्यहम्। आसीना भव मानस हंसे, आसीना भव मानस हंसे, कुंज तुहिना शशि धवले, हर जड़तां कुरु बुद्धि विकासं, हर जड़तां कुरु बुद्धि विकासं, शीत पंकज तनु विमले, तव चरणों प्रणमाम्यहम् 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 प्रणमाम्यहम्।
Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya. May the darkness of ignorance be swept away by the dawn of self-realization. May I now request the chief guest and the dignitaries on the dais to light the auspicious ceremonial lamp. I would also request the dignitaries for paying the floral tribute. Thank you. With the permission of the chair, I now request Dr. R.K. Jain, Dean and Joint Director Education IERA, to give the formal welcome address.
Very good afternoon. Distinguished Professor Dr. P.K. Gupta, Speaker of today's function. Padma Bhushan, Professor R.B. Singh, former Director IRI and former Chairman ASRB. Dr. Mahapatra, Director IRI. Dr. Vinod, Professor, Division of Genetics and President Genetics Club. Distinguished guest of the dais, Professor Anupam Verma, Adjunct Professor, Dr. Vasal, Adjunct Professor, Dr. Prabhu, Joint Director Research, and other distinguished dignitaries. Project Directors, Head of Divisions, Professors, my dear distinguished faculty, students of IARI, ladies and gentlemen. At the outset, on behalf of the Institute and on my own behalf, I welcome you all this afternoon for TTJ lecture function. We have gathered here today to take pledge on this important occasion to raise the standard of teaching at IIRI. We have gathered here to take the pledge to groom leaders for future agricultural research. We have gathered here to take a pledge to strengthen the student and the teacher's bond, which is predominantly based on trust, encouragement, praise, selflessness, discovery, and realization, and the ability to let the student go and fly to the height of imagination. It's a great coincidence that we have two great teachers sharing the same dais. Before I proceed further, may I request the Director IARI to welcome Chairperson of today's function with a bouquet of flower, please. We would also like to welcome our today's speaker, Dr. P.K. Gupta. May I request again the Director IARI to welcome the speaker of today's function, Dr. P.K. Gupta, please. I would also take this opportunity to request Dr. Vinod, Professor of Genetics, to welcome Dr. Mahapatra, Director IARI, with a bouquet of flower, please. All of you know Dr. Mahapatra has joined recently the Director IARI, and perhaps this is his first formal appearance before you. While International Teachers' Day is observed on 15th of October, India celebrates Teachers' Day on September 5th to pay respect, to pay tribute to our former statesman, to our former president, Dr. Radhakrishnan. As you all know, Dr. Radhakrishnan has been the firm believer that the education is an important passport for overall development of India. He was himself an aspiring educationist, prolific writer, philosopher, and a statesman, and above all, a renowned professor of philosophy. Dr. Radhakrishnan was of the view that for a good education system, there is a need for dedicated and committed teachers. And for a great teacher, it is essential that he or she should be able to inspire or motivate student, has passion to teach, he or she should be excellent communicator, should have great patience, should be humble and tolerant of disagreement. He or she should always be there to hold your hand. He should be there to open your mind, and he should be there to touch your heart. So we can understand that is what is a great teacher. So by celebrating Teachers' Day, we not only pay tribute to the great teacher, but we also honor the entire teaching community and appreciate the lasting contribution this noble profession to our lives and to our society. Please remember, we hold in our hand the future of our children, our prosperity, and even our planet. With these words, once again, I welcome you all to this function. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, sir. Now I would like to invite Dr. Trilochan Mahapatra, Director IARI, to formally introduce the chairman to this wonderful audience.
Very good afternoon to each one of you. Professor R.B. Singh, Professor P.K. Gupta, my colleague Dr. Jain, Dr. Vinod, many dignitaries of the dais, teachers of this institute, the researchers, students, colleagues, and friends. This is an occasion which we are celebrating today and call Teachers' Day. Before I speak anything, on my own behalf, I extend a very hearty welcome to each one of you. And before I proceed further, let me bow before all my teachers with all humility at my command and pay tribute to those who have sacrificed everything and contributed to what we are today as teachers and scientists. The teachers of yesterday and the teachers of today, they have done so much for the society at large, and very specifically for all of us who are sitting here and celebrating this particular day. The importance of the day has been already explained to you, and my job is to introduce today's chairman, the chairman of this particular function. Professor R.B. Singh doesn't need any introduction to this gathering. All of us know him so well, and in fact, it's a sheer coincidence that two of the great teachers, Professor R.B. Singh and Professor P.K. Gupta, are sharing the dais. And not only that, they also went together today, I was informed. They also went together on fellowship to study abroad. And more importantly, again, both of them, they worked together at the Meerut University. And so much of coincidence, cannot be a sheer coincidence. There's something which is underlies this, and that is the brilliance of the two personalities who are sitting here on the dais before us. And we are going to listen, though briefly, the chairman, but both of them. Professor R.B. Singh, all of you know very briefly, though I will introduce him, the chairman of this function. He was born in UP, and this was a village in eastern UP, that is in the district Gazipur, and that was in 1940. In the age of 24, when he was just 24 years old, he completed his PhD, and that is from North Carolina State University. I do not know how many of us sitting here have or dream to complete their PhDs at the age of 24. And immediately after returning to India, he joined in Punjab Agriculture University. I think that was the Hisar campus, and as associate professor directly. And for 15 years, from 64 to 79, he continued in India as a teacher, as a professor and head, and in different capacities, from university to university, and serving the students' cause. That is the biggest one is teaching, and then bringing out the brilliance in the students. And we have today some of his students here. Dr. K.V. Prabhu has been taught by him at BHU, and not only at PAU, he also worked at Meerut University, as I said, and then Banaras Hindu University, the famous university where he was professor and head. And in fact, nurtured several talents. Another is Dr. N.K. Singh, was also, maybe here in the audience, he was also taught by him. Several others occupying different positions in the country who were taught by him and nurtured by him in many ways. Not just a teacher-student relationship in the classroom, but it transcended beyond the boundaries of classroom. And that's very important. And Professor R.B. Singh, after 15 years of teaching and very significant contribution, moved out of the country and served another 15 years, again in different capacities, in the Food and Agriculture Organization, and rising to the position of Assistant Director General of this august body. And more importantly, during this 15 years of his stint under different programs under FAO, he contributed in many, many ways to India, to South Asia, and even Southeast Asia, and many different activities and different forums and networks that he built. For instance, today you learn about APARI, for instance. There are many other fora in which he was instrumental and brought new activities, infused a lot of energy into many different activities which we see today. And then when he returned, to the country. As you all know, he served this institution, the premium institution, as the director and vice chancellor. And then that's the time when I had a lot of interaction with him, and as a faculty of the biotechnology. And you all know that how a brilliant teacher he was here. Despite all his busy schedule as a director, he was also taking classes in genetics. And, that is what is the importance of a teacher. A teacher wants to teach, not in the sense of just delivering in the classes. A teacher is the one who holds the hands of the students and take them in the traditional meaning of guru, hand holding and leading them from darkness in the path of light and towards light and realization, to have realization in life. And that's what Professor R.B. Singh did in earlier stints and also the recent ones at IRI. And that is how he has been an excellent teacher, recognized. And in fact, Professor Verma was telling, that the students used to, give their comments. Those days, and even today, the comments of students are, elicited, and they provide their comments. And they used to say that Professor R.B. Singh, should devote more time to teaching. And that's the kind of quality of a teacher, that when the students keep demanding, that speaks volumes about the quality of teaching that one delivers. And sir, we are fortunate that you are here. And I can keep speaking about his qualities, not as director. You all know that he was also subsequent to that chairman of ASRB. And more importantly, he has served in many different forums. For instance, he was member of Farmers Commission. And very importantly, the report, voluminous report that has come out of this work, Farmers Commission, you find the typical kind of attitude and feelings of Professor R.B. Singh in some of those documents. And very importantly, Professor R.B. Singh's feelings for the toiling masses, the farmers, the livelihood security of the farmers, and so on and so forth, poverty elevation. And his feeling is very much evident in the report. And he is also another, like Professor Swaminathan, is very good at coining words and phrases. And he keeps doing that, and even today he keeps doing that. He's a prolific writer, and he is such an orator, and it's always a pleasure to listen to him. When I was at CRRI, there was an international conference, and I was looking for somebody, and I said that Professor R.B. Singh would be the best person to suit that, to deliver the keynote address, and that's what so kindly he agreed. And that was a kind of delivery, and that was so memorable to everyone who was present there. And there are many different fora in which he has delivered, and they remain so memorable, sir, for your kind of elaborate and the oratory, the kind of oratory he has. And then, as the president of the National Academy of Agriculture Sciences, you will find his, kind of typical contributions in many different documents that has come out of the academy. And, different agriculture science congresses and their proceedings. He puts in extra efforts, elaborately going through those and then bringing out those documents. They come out so well. And that's because of his special efforts of Professor R.B. Singh. And for instance, the one which was held on education, the whole title of the symposium and then the sessions and everything would be thoroughly planned by him. Whatever he does and leaves an imprint and a legacy, which is so rich a legacy. And, it will be very difficult. None of us can forget that legacy that Professor R.B. Singh is leaving behind us. It's there. He will continue, leaving these legacies for all of us to emulate for all time to come. Professor R.B. Singh has several awards and honors to his credit. I can't go on, describing every aspect of his life, but, he is currently the Chancellor of the Central Agriculture University, and he has been rewarded and awarded. He has, a DSc, honoris causa of 8 different universities of this, country. Besides that, he is also, he has been rewarded and recognized by many international bodies and national bodies. And to top it up, he is rewarded with the Padma Bhushan, one of the highest civilian awards of this country, and for his contribution to science education, not only in the country, but also in Asia and Southeast Asia. And that we must not forget. The other day when I was interacting with you, that's what I say, that we must look for such kind of personalities and emulate them, try to emulate them at least, so that this institute becomes truly a world-class institute, and people should look for advice of people like Professor R.B. Singh, and they keep looking for, and we should really build this kind of, inculcate this kind of habits and then traits in our students who are sitting here today. And sir, we are so grateful to you to readily agreeing to our request to chair this very important session today. And certainly, I know with you, having you as the chairman will enrich this discussion and deliberation that is going to be held today. And sir, with these words, I welcome, on my own behalf, I welcome you, and I welcome you, Professor Gupta, another excellent, brilliant teacher who will be introduced by, obviously, as per agenda by Professor R.B. Singh. And with these words, I welcome all of you to this important function. Thank you very much, friends.
Thank you, sir. Though we all know about today's speaker, Professor P.K. Gupta, I now request the chairman of today's function, Padma Bhushan Dr. R.B. Singh, to formally introduce today's speaker to this wonderful audience.
Professor P.K. Gupta, Professor Mahapatra, Professor R.K. Jain, Professor Vinod, of course, very distinguished colleagues, friends, Professor Anupam Verma, Professor Vassal, Dr. Prabhu, many of the colleagues whom if I see all dignitaries here, fellow teachers and fellow students. First of all, permit me to congratulate Dr. Mahapatra for having taken over as the director of this great institute, and thanks for your kind words. I wish each one of you a very happy Teachers' Day. I am indeed honored to introduce the distinguished speaker of the day. We also share one thing common with each other. I was born in UP, yes, I was born in Eastern UP. PK was born in Western UP, in Saranpur. A brilliant scholar all through, having his master's degree in botany from Meerut College, brought glory to Meerut College and to the whole of the system, which the so-called the private colleges or college systems in this country represent. Very often you hear of universities, you seldom hear of these colleges. PK was the one who made these colleges to be reckoned with one of the best anywhere in the world because of his affiliation and continuation. Very often we leave the places, we go to greener pastures and so on and so forth, but Professor P.K. Gupta continued at Meerut for a very long time till date, and pray that he will continue for years and years to come. As a matter of fact, his field of specialization, his doctoral degree from the University of Manitoba in 1967, specialization in cytogenetics and of course genetics, molecular biology, biotechnology. Today you talk about it. you name it, all affiliated fields. He is the one who leads in many of the disciplines. His first position in the country was, in the substantive way, was an assistant professor of botany at Gorakhpur University for about 8 to 9 years or so. Then he joined me at Meerut University, and he became the reader of agricultural botany. You see the transformation again. He was trained in botany. He was assistant professor in botany in Gorakhpur University. He joined Meerut University as the reader in agricultural botany. And this is how you can see botany, agriculture. Very often when we think of the ASRB qualifications, we miss out on many of these nuances and the way the basic science nurtures agriculture. And Pushpendra is one of the greatest examples how it has been done. He became the professor and head of that department, in the botany department, in 76. Continued for about 20 years, Pushpendra, if that's right, yes, and dean of the Faculty of Agriculture. He was dean, Faculty of Agriculture of the university. And after the usual retirement usually in these universities, 60 or 62 years of age retire, which of course was obligatory for him. But after retirement, he has been much more productive, much more useful, much more contributive than what he was. Of course, he has always been outstanding, but there is something outstanding out of outstanding, and he did it after, I think continues to do that, outshine himself, as a matter of fact, if I may say so. In many of the decorations, many of the positions, he was able to really hold and continues to hold after having retired in the usual sense. As a matter of fact, his journey has been, as I said, more glittering and much more rewarding, much more effective. And these were in many positions like honorary scientist, emeritus professor, you name it. Any academy you name, he is a fellow, elected fellow, and so respected, outstanding, that even with blindfolded way, if you want to pick someone who is brilliant in science, you just cannot miss him. I mean, he is that Professor P.K. Gupta. He has been awarded several medals, including the Birbal Sahni gold medal. I know there is a little page which was in my file which gives his brief background, which I hope will be available to others as well. I do not know whether it is our own property or others also will have a copy. I hope if that could be also made available to others also, that will be very helpful. Professor Gupta, as I said, one of the most cited scholars from India. He has produced, I used to think that before I left IRI for my chairman ASRB position, I used to count how many PhDs I have produced. I think I had produced about 45 PhDs. Then I today noticed that PK has produced 75 PhDs. But there is a difference. I left IRI long ago, but he continues to guide the students. And we really, I think nobody in the country must have guided as many PhD students as PK has done. And all of them. Here is one brilliant sitting here, and I had the privilege of teaching him as well at Meerut University. Harinder, I know that he is a fellow of the Academy also, National Academy of Agricultural Sciences. Likewise, Pushpendra has also decorated our Academy. He is also a fellow of of course, as you all know, INSA, ASC, AISC, and NASI, and you name. He has been really honoring those academies. Also, above all, the day that we stand here for is the Teacher's Day. And I have still to see a teacher of his merit, of his commitment, and the devotion that is absolutely infectious. It is absolutely unparalleled. Ladies and gentlemen, with these words, I know I can never cover fully his outstanding achievements. Could I have the privilege and honor to present to you Professor P.K. Gupta, Pushpendra Kumar Gupta, for this lecture, please. P.K.
Thank you, sir. Now I request Professor P.K. Gupta to deliver his lecture on deteriorating level of teaching, my experience and thoughts as a teacher.
नहीं इससे कैसा होगा यहाँ से होगा ना यहाँ से होगा तो इससे कैसा होगा ये फॉरवर्ड है ये रिवर्स और ये पॉइंटर प्रोफेसर आर.बी. सिंह, डॉक्टर त्रिलोचन महापात्रा, डॉक्टर आर.के. जैन, प्रोफेसर विनोद, and many people of the dais, Professor Anupam Verma, Dr. Vasal, and other distinguished guests in the audience. I consider it a great honor to have been invited to deliver this important lecture at the premier institute, which is the best in the country, as you know, in agriculture education. I like to thank Professor R.B. Singh for the kind words he has spoken about me. I still wonder how did Dr. R.K. Jain picked up my name for this important lecture at such an important institute like IRI, because I have been throughout at a place which is known for producing poor students. Most of the time when a student goes for an interview and he tells I am from Meerut University, he is outright rejected, most of the time. But fortunately, if he tells that I am from Professor P.K. Gupta's lab, that makes a difference. And it is perhaps for this reason, because some of my good friends and well-wishers think that I have been a successful teacher, that perhaps prompted Dr. R.K. Jain to invite me to deliver this lecture. As I told you, I consider it an honor to have been invited for this lecture. The topic of the lecture is partly selected by me and partly suggested by Dr. R.K. Jain. When he asked me what I would like to talk about, I told him that I would like to talk about my experiences over the years where I witnessed a decline in the quality of teaching and decline in the quality of education which we are providing to our students. And therefore, he suggested me the title and I accepted it. You can see that the major thought in my mind is that we have to do something about the decline in the quality of teaching all over the country. But when I make this presentation and have chosen the subject, deteriorating level of teaching, I have in mind those institutions and those colleges and universities, particularly in the states like UP and Bihar, where we have large number of state universities and a large number of colleges affiliated with these state universities, where the level of teaching is deplorable. For over the years, it has deteriorated to a level that many students now don't want to go to the classes. I should, before I proceed any further, definitely point out 3 caveats before making a presentation or disclaimers. The first is that when I talk about the decline in quality of education, quality of teaching, I have in mind all these universities, state universities and colleges, where such a decline has been witnessed over the years. The second caveat is that so much has been talked about decline in higher education and lower education. I am not going to talk about education as a whole. I will restrict myself to the quality of teaching, which is only one of the factors in decline of higher education in the country. There are a number of other factors which are responsible for decline in higher education, but I will not cover all of them. I will restrict myself to only to decline in the quality of teaching. The third caveat is that I will restrict myself to higher education only. There is so much said about primary education in the country, that there is decline in primary education. The schools which are aided by the government, you don't find a teacher there. Even the fourth class employees or even the lowest in the cadre, they would not like to send their children to the primary schools which are located in different districts, and therefore, but I will not touch upon that. I will not touch upon that. I will restrict myself to only higher education. Briefly talking about why we celebrate. But before I do that, I must tell you that the lecture which I am giving will consist of three parts. The first part will be a brief introduction to why we celebrate Teachers' Day and what is the role of teachers in the society as a whole. After this brief introduction, I will talk about the decline in education, decline in teaching quality, and the causes of this decline. What are the causes of this decline, and whether or not we have any solution to this declining trend. This is what will be the second part of my lecture. And the third part of the lecture, which is very important for me, is my experiences and thoughts about as a teacher, what I have witnessed during the years. I have about almost 6 decades of teaching experience, and I am still in contact with the students, and I still teach 1 or 2 courses in my department, and I have seen the quality of students we receive. You see, you don't feel like teaching them because they have come up from a level where it is very difficult to build up to bring them to the level at which you want to teach. But nevertheless, you are all familiar with this. Sarvapalli Radhakrishnan, when he became president and some of his students approached him to celebrate his birthday on September 5th, 1962, he advised them and he told them that it will be an honor for him if his birthday is celebrated as Teachers' Day. Teachers' Day, there are number of other occasions like Guru Purnima. I remember at Guru Purnima also many of my students send me emails and make telephone calls to me. The last Guru Purnima, as you can see, was July 31st, and I normally don't remember, but my students remind me that, sir, this is Guru Purnima and we are highly obliged to you, like that. And I also discovered that there is a World Teachers' Day which is celebrated on October 5th. Many of us are not aware about it because we hardly have any activity on the World Teachers' Day in India. Very popular, these one shlok and other Sant Kabir's Doha, which many of our students normally send us on Teachers' Day. Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwara, Guru Sakshat Param Brahma, Tasmai Shri Guruve Namah. You see the kind of status which the society has given to the teacher. Guru has been compared not only with these 3 gods, Brahma, Vishnu, Mahesh, but also Kabir has placed him above. Kabir has said, Sant Kabir has said that Guru Gobind do khade kaake lagu paaye, balihari Guru apne Gobind diyo bataye. It means, according to Sant Kabir, Guru was even above God. So this is the status which we as teachers received from the past history. But whether or not we come to this particular expectation, that is what we have to think about and ponder about. And it is also said that the best teacher is like a candle which burns itself to light the way for others. So many other similar statements have been made about teachers, telling us about the position of a teacher, which is really sometimes very satisfying that teacher has such a status in the society. The role of teachers has been described in various ways by many, and we know that every one of us know that teachers are the component of the society which plays an important role in the overall development of early life of the children. Not only early life, I remember many of my students who did PhD with me, they go abroad and then they write to me that, sir, you were a sculptor who prepared us for the journey in the life. They influence and mold the students' life and lighten them and shape their career. And as a role model, a teacher needs to perform in a manner expected of his students. But do all teachers do that? That is the question we are asking. Teachers' role in corruption eradication. Abdul Kalam wrote this, that if a country is to be corruption free and become a nation of beautiful minds, I strongly feel there are three key societal members who can make a difference. They are the father, the mother, and the teacher. And I consider that the role of the teacher is even above the parents, because sometimes if the parents are giving a wrong direction to the child, the teacher prompts him to question his parents. That this is not the right, the teacher tells us. So teacher is actually above the parents in giving a direction and building the personality of a young child and later in his life. But if a teacher is not a teacher, within inverted commas, if a teacher is not a teacher, in states like UP and Bihar, a teacher is not a teacher, unfortunately. Only a very small fraction of them are teachers. We fail to produce these real teachers in large number. You see, I don't say that there are no teachers. Teachers are there. Good teachers are there. Real teachers are there. But what proportion of the teacher community represents those real teachers? This is the question we have to address. There are a large number of teacher awards which have been instituted to recognize the teachers. You can see that there are national awards to teachers instituted in 1958 by HRD Ministry, and they are awarded by President of India. Only yesterday, our Minister of HRD, Smriti Irani, she gave away the awards to number of teachers, of high school teachers. I also from the report found that IRI also has the best faculty awards, and they have already given this award to 96 different scientists. But most of these teachers, you see, IRI is an exception. IRI, IITs, Indian Institute of Science, Tata Institute of Fundamental Research, many ISRs in the country. So you can give examples of institutes where almost 90-95% or even 100% teachers are real teachers. You see, they have the quality. But I am not talking about them. I am talking about the teachers in colleges and universities who produce 90% of the students of this country. You do not produce the masses. The students which you are producing, they are of course brilliant. They are doing very well. You can feel proud of them. But we are talking about the students who are produced in different states of the country by universities and colleges where teachers are not real teachers. Indian Academy of Sciences also recognize this, and they also invite selected teachers to their meetings, mid-year meeting and the annual meetings, to recognize and discuss the problems of teaching in the country. Who should be the teacher then? Sarvapalli Radhakrishnan said the teachers should be the best brains in the country. But do we get the best brains to become the teachers? That is the question we have been always addressing, we have been always discussing. In national academies, this question has been addressed. Best brains are not available for teaching. They go to different professions, they go to IITs, they go to medical colleges, because parents also think that teaching profession is not the best profession. Therefore, majority of teachers after grade 12, they pick up these lines, and therefore we are left out with the leftover. We are and these leftovers which we get, I often ask my students in the class, MSc students, how many of you have not tried these competitions and came to MSc by choice? You find none. Most of them are leftovers. And out of these leftovers which we get, you do not select the best. Even with this leftover, we do not select the best. That is the tragedy. And we will talk about that part later on. Majority of those recruited, teaching research therefore is not a joy. You see, teaching profession is a passion. Unless the teacher enjoys teaching, derives pleasure out of teaching, he cannot be a teacher. Reports on quality of education, there are a number of reports. I found while preparing this lecture a large number of reports, but I have included only few of them. There are 5 volumes on higher education in India, published in 2002, redefining. Then there is a publication from National Academy of Agricultural Sciences, policy paper 31, redefining agriculture education and extension system, which was based on a workshop organized by Dr. Punjab Singh. And then very recently, 11th Agricultural Science Congress at Bhubaneswar under the presidency of Professor R.B. Singh discussed at length the question of agricultural education. It means we recognize that agricultural education also has problems, serious problems, shaping India's future. And they brought out this particular document, a roadmap to transform agricultural education to reshape India's future. Important document. I could not read the whole document, but I am sure this must be giving a roadmap for improvement of agricultural education. Then National Agricultural Education Day lecture you always organize every year on November 13th. Dr. Anupam Verma gave the lecture last year, and Dr. Chadha gave the lecture in 2013, I found from the internet. All these policies, every document talks about decline in education. Every one of them talks about decline in education, provides solutions, but whether anything is happening, that is the question. You see, teaching of agriculture in India, more than 80% of agriculture graduates are really produced from colleges, affiliated colleges in UP, Bihar and other states. Because we admit students in large number, irrespective of whether the teachers are there or not, and produce them in large number. Earlier, there was a ban on opening MSc classes in colleges, but state governments did not care. They resolved in their parliament, in their assemblies, that this is possible. Therefore, even master's education is now given. I still remember in 1977-78, and even when Professor R.B. Singh was there, Dr. O.P. Gautam was DDG Agronomy Education, and he visited our universities, and he used to always say, these colleges will die their natural death. They never died. They are there. They are producing majority or 80% of our agricultural graduates, and you can't ignore them. Can you ignore them? And therefore, as teachers, should we do something about these 80%, these colleges where 80% of the graduates are produced? Can we improve teaching in these colleges? Answer is no. Because, I say no, because of my experience. I was Dean Faculty of Agriculture for 20 years looking after these colleges. And I tried at several occasions to bring about improvement. I failed. Most of the time these agriculture teachers used to come and tell me, कि साहब आप तो बॉटनी के आदमी हैं, आपको एग्रीकल्चर कहाँ आती है? See, it was really a surprise. I copied this picture from Anupam Verma's lecture, which he delivered last year. I thought that state agricultural universities are better than these colleges. But they are shared better, but not much difference. You can see that on the basis of this data, 14 state agricultural universities are sampled here by students, and 65% of the students say that the agriculture teaching is poor in state agricultural universities. Surprising. I thought that state agricultural universities, and I think ICR thought that by creating these state agricultural universities and by destroying these agriculture colleges in the states, the problem of agriculture education will be solved. This is not true. You can see 65% and another 25% here are fair. So you have hardly about 10% which are classified as good or very good. So it's serious problem even in state agricultural universities. You may be better, IRI may be better. I am sure IRI is better than state agricultural university. I have no doubt about it. Major causes of decline. What are the major causes of decline in education? Many studies have been conducted and many solutions have been provided. And again, the disclaimer does not apply to all institutions. Don't think I am talking about IRI. I am not talking about IRI. You see, I have picked up only 3 major reasons. There are a large number of reasons given by people who wrote about it. The 3 reasons which I picked up for discussion at this particular meeting is corruption, teachers' absenteeism, and political interference. These are 3 major reasons which are responsible for decline in quality of teaching. There are other stated reasons of decline which I am not going to discuss. Shortage of faculty. This is what the state universities say. This is what many of our teachers, they say that there is shortage of faculty and therefore there is decline. This cannot, in my opinion, this cannot be the reason. This may be reason for fall in education, standard of education, but not the quality of teaching. Then there is inbreeding. You have inbreeding. Even in IRI, you have inbreeding, I think, to some extent. You see, in foreign universities, sometimes they don't allow the student to take up another course in the same university. They want him to try several universities and then reduce funding. Of course, reduced funding. The present government also reduced funding to all sections of education, including higher education. Corruption in recruitment is a key, in my opinion. I may be wrong. Corruption in recruitment at all levels. In most state universities, the whole machinery joins in corrupt practices, including vice chancellors, subject experts. They are all involved in it. And I am talking about it with personal experience. The vice chancellors are appointed by the government on considerations other than merit in the first place. And therefore vice chancellors join in corrupt practices. Sometimes vice chancellors are appointed on money, and therefore he says, I have spent money, therefore I will have to make money. And then subject experts sometimes cannot speak before the vice chancellor, and they don't consider it necessary. I have seen it in most of the cases. If the vice chancellor wants, then the subject experts will have to follow the vice chancellor. Selection committee often succumbs to pressure, extraneous pressure. I have myself done that. In many selection committees, I felt guilty of signing a paper which I should not have signed. So the result of this recruitment policy is the teacher appointed by this process often follows corrupt practices. Because sometimes teacher is also appointed on the basis of money, and therefore he also thinks that I should make money. This has destroyed the whole education system in the country, unfortunately. It is a pathetic situation and I feel sad about it. This is why I speak about it. Next, corruption in teaching then. You see, that is in recruitment. But once the teachers are appointed, the teachers themselves are involved in corrupt practices. The teachers will take money from the students for promoting them without teaching. I have seen in my own universities, teachers will not teach in the class and then they will give them good grades to the students in internal assessment so that the students feel satisfied. They don't talk about the quality of teaching done by the teacher. There are teachers in affiliated colleges, he will charge money for signing the registration paper for PhD. They will charge money for signing the thesis. They will not help in thesis writing. They will charge money. And I am not exaggerating. This of course led to this PhD eligible entrance test, etc. also. But that is also not going to help very much. Large number of teachers in these state universities are used by the Vice Chancellor for administrative work. And these Vice Chancellor never ask them that when you are engaged in administrative work, when do you teach? They don't ask this question and they don't teach. They are employed for administrative work. Somebody is controller of examination. I went to Jammu University. There also I found that one of the head of the department of biotechnology was controller of examination. In our university also same thing. Because they get quite a bit of money, almost equivalent to their salary through administrative work. Self-finance courses is another awful situation. You have self-finance courses in private colleges, you have self-finance courses in state universities also. And I have read somewhere that about 80% of the college courses in these universities are self-finance. The behavior is acquired by students. This behavior of teachers is acquired then by the students who are future teachers. So they will fall in line. Privatization, another source of declines. Substandard teachers, when appointed in private colleges because of salary. If the regular salary is 30,000, they will pay him only 15,000, 10,000. So self-finance courses in the state universities, I told you, up to 80% of all courses in some state universities are self-finance courses. Substandard faculty is appointed with low salary and this faculty indulges in unfair means to help students for money. 2/3 of the India's colleges and universities are below standard. This is documented. That 2/3 of the India's colleges and universities are below standard and 44 of 130 deemed universities were de-recognized because of lack of quality. But all these de-recognized universities will continue. They will not close down because they will manage. They will be able to manage recognition. Because recognition is given on the basis of a panel of experts and these panel of experts are given money to sign papers. Absenteeism among teachers, this is another serious problem. Teachers' absentees are negative role models for the students and according to UNESCO, 25% of the teacher absentees are there in India, which is highest in the world. This is the record of UNESCO. This is not my figure. It is also has been estimated that in Bihar, 2 of the 5 teachers do not go to the classes. In UP also 1 of every 3 teachers do not go to the classes. They are absent and just don't go to the classes. And therefore the students are not sure whether the teacher will come. तो वो भी कहते हैं कि साहब जाने से कोई फायदा नहीं, क्लास में जाने से टीचर तो आएगा नहीं. Political interference, recruitment, posting and transfers, they are all influenced by political leaders. वाइस चांसलर के पास चीफ मिनिस्टर का कभी फोन आएगा तो कभी स्टेट मिनिस्टर का आएगा कि साहब देख लेना जरा इसको. मेरे पास भी लोगों के फोन आते हैं, जब एक्सपर्ट होता हूँ मैं कहीं, फोन आते हैं लोगों के कि भाई देख लेना ये बहुत अच्छा है स्टूडेंट. Teachers, therefore, teachers with commitment and passion are rare in teaching community. Yes, political interference, I have talked about it. Yes. When there is political interference, is the government aware about it? You can see the statements of our earlier Prime Minister, former Prime Minister Manmohan Singh, he lamented on this situation. When the Prime Minister of the country recognizes the problem and is unable to solve, I am concerned that in many states, university appointments, including those of the Vice Chancellors, have been politicized and have become subject of caste, communal considerations, favoritism and corruption. This is what Prime Minister Manmohan Singh said in 2007. Then he again in 2013 in Vice Chancellor's conference convened by the President of India, Pranab Mukherjee, he said our higher education hit a low. So the Prime Minister is recognizing the problem and is finding it impossible for him to correct. HRD Minister is also proposing to have new education policy by December this year, inviting suggestions from all of us. And one of the factors in the new education policy which she says she would like to incorporate is accountability for teachers. Only last night I read it. And many people are unhappy with her on this account because she says that the teacher should be accountable. And the teachers thinks that they should not be accountable. And along with this new education policy, which I am very keen to see whenever it comes, Modi Make in India. Modi says that even in education we should have this approach of Make in India. He is inviting foreign universities to have campuses in India and deliver. I don't know how good it will be. That is a question which we can discuss. You see, there is shortage of teachers. That was some kind of a satisfaction. I see and hope in this. By 2030, India will need 3 million teachers. But whether we will recruit the correct teachers, that is the question. That is the question. You can see that in this figure, so many countries, India is the highest. There are 3 million teachers we will have to recruit by 2030. Possible solutions? Yes. Shall we recruit good teachers? That is the question. We have to recruit 3 million teachers, but shall we recruit good teachers? You see, in UP Higher Education Service Commission was created so that the recruitment may be corrected. And it has done more damage than harm. I remember Meerut College, Dr. R.B. Singh mentioned about it, that even in colleges, you see, I had the brilliant teachers throughout my education career. And that Meerut College was destroyed because a wrong principal was appointed there. In universities, VC appointed on political and pecuniary consideration plays a major role. And at Modipuram, about 20 kilometers from my university, a vice chancellor was appointed on political considerations and he destroyed the university. Foundation of the university. You see, all appointments were made on considerations other than merit. Swapan Datta, who was DDG, he was an applicant and he was rejected. What are the solutions? All India test, Agriculture Research Service, NAT and so many others. I don't see a solution, therefore I don't want to talk about possible solutions. Political interference is to such an extent, how can you curb political interference at the state level? It's very difficult. You can perhaps manipulate at the central level, but at the state level it is very, very difficult. Recruitment policy, can we change the recruitment policy? The people are the same, experts are the same. Recently at Modipuram I was a member of selection committee and there was a very senior scientist from agriculture was there as a member of, and there was a candidate for professorship and I said, how can you promote him? The gentleman, the other expert said, नहीं साहब देखिए किसी कंडीशन में काम कर रहे हैं ये इनको ये नहीं सोचते आप. He was promoted. Can we have a database of eligible candidates? That is another thing comes to my mind. and then force the universities to pick up from the database. Solutions have been suggested by international organizations like RAND Corporation. This is a RAND stands for Research and Development Organization in California, and they work for problems outside USA also, and therefore they have suggested a number of measures like measuring teacher effectiveness. Can we measure effectiveness of the teacher and reward? Can we have a policy of pay for performance on the basis of effectiveness? If a teacher is very effective and performing better, you give him better salary. In China they do it. In China they do it. If you publish a paper in Nature, your salary is doubled. I was told during my visit to China. Linking funding and quality, accreditation and accountability. You see, in all these, the thing which comes to my mind is that effectiveness and performance and accreditation, this will be done by us, people like us. We will again be involved in corrupt practices. The teacher who is the best teacher will be called the worst because of the experts. So, this is such a vicious circle. Unless every one of us, the society itself thinks that something should be done. You see, the society should be able to question a teacher if he is not teaching. They are not questioning. I have not seen parents coming and telling me कि साहब ये टीचर आपके डिपार्टमेंट का पढ़ाता नहीं है. They don't do it. They find other alternatives. Some experience and thoughts for willing teachers. You see, these thoughts are meant particularly for those who think that I am a successful teacher. No substitute for hard work. This is a statement which Professor R.B. Singh made in 1970, perhaps sometimes. Then I was returning from the lab after dinner and he saw me and he said, no substitute for hard work. You see, every teacher has to do hard work, but there is no reason for him to do hard work unless he derives pleasure out of it. So a teacher needs to keep learning. This needs dedication and hard work. You see, one of the newspaper brought out an item about me once, and the title was 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Because when he interviewed me, I told him that I work 7 to 7. And this 7 to 7 p.m. I learned as a MSc student. When I was a MSc student in Meerut College, our classes used to start 7. Classes used to finish at 1. And then library, no books could be issued to even a teacher. Therefore, you will have to sit there and study. And therefore, from 7 to 1 classes, and then from 1:30 or 2 o'clock up to 7 o'clock in the library. This is the habit which I acquired as a MSc student and then continued it till today. And I am not the only one. I am not an exception in this, I must tell you. Dr. M.S. Swaminathan. You see, many of you may not be familiar that at Krishi Bhavan he used to come as DG at 7 o'clock to the office. Because once I sought an interview and his secretary told me that, can you come at 7 o'clock? I was amazed. Does he come at 7 o'clock? I asked. Yes, he comes at 7 o'clock. So I was given an appointment, Dr. M.S. Swaminathan, in sometime in 77, 78, 7 o'clock in Krishi Bhavan. A.K. Sharma is another example. Both of them are 90 now. M.S. Swaminathan's birthday was celebrated only last month. A.K. Sharma 90th birthday was celebrated last year. And A.K. Sharma, another example, I was staying with him in a guest house in the adjoining room when I went there for his 90th birthday to deliver the keynote address. And I was walking around 10 o'clock in the night. He was sitting on the chair and table working. Next morning I got up at 6 o'clock. I walked around. I found he was still sitting and working. So at the age of 90, he starts work at 6 o'clock or before 6 o'clock and works up to 10 o'clock. So if you have to emulate examples, you see, Abdul Kalam, you see, many people used to call me also, you are workaholic. It means that you are abnormal. You are not a normal person. And this is why you work so hard. This is an excuse for not doing hard work. Abdul Kalam says, individuals like myself are often called workaholics. I question this term because that implies pathological condition or an illness. If I do what I desire more than anything else in the world and which makes me happy, such work can never be an aberration. I was pleased to see this because people used to call me also, we are workaholic. Even in Canada, I used to start work in agriculture Canada 5 o'clock in the morning. And everybody used to call, "Arey, ye abnormal aadmi." Then another experience which I want to share with you is, how did I grow as a genetics teacher? This morning in genetics division, I also mentioned that I never when I started teaching genetics, I never had a course in genetics as a student. 1960, I was selected in Gorakhpur University on the condition that I will teach a full paper in genetics. And when a full paper of genetics was assigned to me to teach, the whole department opposed. He never studied genetics, how can you teach? And this became a challenge for me. I used to work round the clock throughout the week to deliver one lecture. But that lecture used to be 4 hours lecture. 4 hours lecture, and the students whom I taught at that time still remember me. That I taught them genetics. This is why they know genetics. Then 1969 I joined Meerut University. Professor Puri was there and he said, we have no course in genetics, no course in cytogenetics to teach, you will have to teach molecular biology. Once again, that problem. I never studied molecular biology and I had to teach molecular biology. And therefore again the same, work whole week to deliver one lecture. But how many teachers would be prepared to accept teaching a subject which they have not studied? Not many. And this is how I have grown and become what I am today. Because I accepted even a subject which I was not competent to teach at that particular time. Biometrical genetics. I still remember when Professor R.B. Singh joined, he was giving problems on biometrical genetics and I approached him, sir, can you teach me biometrical genetics? I want to learn. He said, no, it is very difficult for you. But then, in 1975, I returned from England after a postdoc fellowship. I inherited about half a dozen students whom I had to supervise for PhD in biometrical genetics. So I had to study biometrical genetics. I used to ask students to deliver lecture and I would sit as a student. This is how I started biometrical genetics, and then I supervised maybe more than a dozen students in biometrical genetics. Then I also thought of teaching. I then taught biometrical genetics for several years to learn the subject. Quantitative genetics is another very important area, and when we started our research projects after my retirement, I found that quantitative genetics is very difficult. QTL analysis, we will talk about quantitative genetics, but we don't understand it. I still remember Professor V.P. Gupta from PIU used to say that when a teacher teaches cytogenetics, then the teacher understands but the students don't understand. But when you teach biometrical genetics, neither the teacher understands nor the student. Another lesson which I tried to give in division of genetics this morning is grab the opportunity when it comes in your way. I virtually did that at many occasions. In 1960, Gorakhpur University, Patna, I started teaching genetics. I took a problem in cytogenetics for research, which I was not familiar with at all. 1980, I used to Agriculture Canada and I came across a scientist who was doing RFLP in microbial genetics, and with great persuasion he allowed me to watch him doing it, and this is how I started molecular marker work. Very difficult. You see, even those with whom I was associated in Agriculture Canada could not do it, but I persuaded that person that he will let me watch what he was doing. 1990s, when DBT support came, Chitranjan Bhatia called me and he asked me, you cannot retire, you have to establish a lab, wheat biotechnology at Meerut. There was a lot of opposition, and he sanctioned me, I always quote, he sanctioned me a grant of 1 crore without any review, within a week. And then it became a question for me that I have to demonstrate that Bhatia was not wrong in selecting me. And therefore, there started the journey after my retirement for the next 20 years, which people say that I have done more after my retirement than I did before. Then in 2000, my son was living in North Carolina. I visited, and immediately I thought, what will I do when I go there? I can't sit idle. So I contacted Dr. Zhang, who was a world-renowned in biometricians in statistical genealogy, and I attended some summer classes for QTL analysis, interval mapping and association mapping, and transferred this to my lab. And in 2007, I went to China just because I heard so much about China, and therefore I wanted to know what is happening there. And I attended the International Congress of Quantitative Genetics. I was the sole participant from India. In the next one also in Edinburgh, I am sure I was the sole participant. It means that people in India are not even aware about what is happening in quantitative genetics in the world. No software has ever been developed in India in quantitative genetics, including your Indian Agricultural Statistical Research Institute. As a teacher in the lab, check every student each day, each step that, and each step should be controlled and data should be checked. I thought I was overdoing it, but I was pleased when I read that C.N. Rao talks to every one of his students every day. Every day. So one of the policy which I follow is that I ask every student every day, what are you doing? What did you do yesterday? Then hold regular meetings of all these students who monitor. Encourage a student to question the teacher. This is what has been said in earlier. Oh no. I'm not taking, is the time okay? I learnt also by writing. You know that I wrote a number of books. I wrote a large number of reviews just to learn. I developed a hobby of writing about every Nobel Prize. The reason was that once the Nobel Prize is awarded, I go to the class and ask my students, have you read about the Nobel Prize which has been awarded? Almost everybody, including teachers in the department, would be ignorant about it. Even if they know the name, they will not read about the work done, work which is responsible leading to the Nobel Prize. So for about 10 years, I used to write in current science about every Nobel Prize, and then new discoveries whenever they come my way. To learn, I write an article. Experience in editing books. Partly it was a sad experience. I edited a number of books, but I found that the editors who edit books never read the articles which are included in the book. It's mere compilation in most of the cases. And the authors, for authors, the book chapters are the last priority, and therefore you will find that majority of the articles written in these edited books are substandard. YPS Bajaj, if you have heard the name, he edited more than 50-60 volumes. Another person, Chitranjan Kole, he edited 60-70 volumes. How can you do it? Every year you are producing 5-6 volumes. If you have to read all the articles and edit them, it is impossible. Yes, another thing which I want to emphasize is self-plagiarism. I learned this term when one of the reviewers of our review said that you have copied paragraphs from your earlier review. One of my students did it, unfortunately, and I was not aware about it. This self-plagiarism I noted also when I was editing books. Even some of the authors from foreign countries, they did it in several chapters. They copy para by para. Experience as examiner is another. For PhD comprehensive examination, almost no failures in India. I am not sure about IRI, how much is the failure, but in majority of the universities, I have learned that hardly. In foreign universities, at the time when I was a student and even today, 40% failure. I inquired from people, 40% failure in comprehension. They are asked to go with a master's degree. PhD thesis seldom rejected in our country. I talked to a number of people, colleagues, how many theses did you reject in your life? They would say none. Because the thesis is sent to you because you will approve, not because you will reject it. And I unfortunately rejected number of them in UP and Bihar and Madhya Pradesh. And you can see that I rejected a thesis from IRI also. And there was lot of hue and cry about it. My students were told by IRI staff, how can P.K. Gupta reject a thesis from IRI? But that is no derogatory statement about IRI. You see, that could be an exception. Your PhD students are quality students, your faculty is wonderful in my opinion. But I am talking about the behavior of teachers as examiners. They should read the thesis. Most of them don't read the thesis. Write the report by reading the summary only. Experience, yes. So, experience on selection committees. I told you earlier also. As a part of selection committees, I had to sign papers which I didn't want to sign because there was pressure of the Vice Chancellor and I was the sole expert who disagreeing and therefore did not want to sign. Therefore, the other experts will pressurize you and ultimately you succumb to that pressure. This happened with me in ASRB also once. Almost all the experts disagreed. You see, ASRB, I am telling you for example. And the chairman came and asked us to revert the decision. Thoughts about IRI. You see, excellent teaching research is being conducted by a number of faculty scientists. But I personally feel that the proportion of these brilliant scientists should increase. It's the question of whether 90%, 95% of your faculty is of the international level. And that is what I would expect. I have read the annual report 2014-15, very impressive data. Agriculture education, in agriculture education, IRI is number 1 in the country. But what is your rank at the international level? That is what you have to question. That is what you have to question because I would like IRI to be compared with the Scottish Research Institute in UK, Plant Breeding Institute in Cambridge, Grassland Research Institute, and also Max Planck in Germany, and Cornell in USA. So you should have a position on the international map. You cannot feel proud of being number 1 in the country. You have to have a position at the international level. Your scientists should have a position at the international level. You have published 529 papers in 1 year, commendable. But you are writing that they are all about NAS rank 6. I was disappointed. Why should you not give international impact factor? There are so many papers about 5 impact factor, so many papers about 10, so many papers about 20, so many papers about 30. There are, you see. I have recently published a Nature Biotechnology and my students came, sir, दाव देनी पड़ेगी आपको, 30 impact factor है उसका. So you have to have, you see, NAS ranking, this report will go to foreign countries also. And what will they understand? That you are saying, sir, 529 papers, they are all about NAS rank 6. Teachers' Day, a reminder. Dr. R.K. Jain said that we have to take a pledge. I also, on every teacher day, I want to take a pledge that I will be a teacher. I will look after my students. On Teachers' Day, not only teachers be honored, but teachers themselves should pledge to serve the students and the society at large with more commitment and devotion than ever before. I take a pledge that I will do it. I hope all of you do it. A teacher is a fly with wings. This is a quotation I took from somewhere. A teacher is like a fly which takes students on his or her wings, teach them to fly, and then set them free. Watch them with pride as they fly into the sky, soar high above you, wishing that they reach greater heights which you could never reach. For nothing gives the teacher more happiness than when his student excels and surpasses the teacher himself. You see, I have at least one student who has excelled me. At least people think that he has excelled me. Many people ask me, are you teacher of Rajiv Varshne? They don't ask Rajiv Varshne, are you a student of P.K. Gupta? Majority of cases they will ask, oh, P.K. Gupta ka student hai to theek hai. In case of Rajiv Varshne, they ask, sir, are you Rajiv Varshne's teacher? I feel so proud of him when this happens. So that is what should be the philosophy of a teacher. Your student should excel you, fly above you in the sky. Last one, to my teachers and students, I want to express my gratitude and reverence to my teachers. I had excellent teachers throughout my career, student career. Although I never went to the best schools in the country, I studied in DAV College, Muzaffarnagar, Meerut College, which were the closest to my home. My parents couldn't afford me to send to Allahabad University. But then, I still had excellent teachers. I still remember. So I want to express my gratitude to those teachers. Most of them are no more now, but some of them are still living, who taught me how to fly. And to my dear students, you see, on Teachers' Day, sometimes I send greetings to all my students. Because I think that it is not only the students who should honor a teacher, the teacher should also remember his students on this day. So to all my dear students whom I enjoyed teaching in the classroom, lab, and also outside, reaching them through my books. Many people I go at many places in the country, they say, sir, I've been your student. How we have been? Because we have read your books. This is why we are your students. So I have taught number of students, innumerable students through my books, and that gave me a lot of satisfaction because in the classroom I had 4 students. Always. And that was frustrating. Therefore, in the first preface of my first book, I wrote that one of the reasons I started writing books was to reach a wider spectrum of students, to the best students in the country who want to learn the subject. So I am very, very pleased that I had students and that students liked my books, enjoyed reading my books, and learned from my books. Thanking you once again for the honor done to me and for your patient hearing.
Thank you, sir, for such a thought-provoking lecture. May I now request the chairman of today's function, Dr. R.B. Singh, to give the valuable remarks.
Friends, before I say anything, could we ask for a standing ovation for Professor Gupta? Friends, Professor Gupta is known for calling a spade, and this is what a teacher should be, the courage and conviction to tell the right things. You don't have many, this is a rare species, as a matter of fact, which you do encounter once in a while, which I thought is an opportunity for us to realize that there is something which is greatly missing, and probably we all owe responsibility to bridge that gap. The identification of problems, their possible solutions, the depth of our problem, all very well described. Friends, I don't have to repeat those things, but let me only say that thank you, Dr. R.K. Jain, for the opportunity you gave me to be here on this particular day, and also to learn from PK and to recommit ourselves for doing better than what we have been doing. The country needs much more than what we have been able to do so far. This day, obviously, is a day of inspiration and commitment, as PK said, for all teachers of today as well as tomorrow. Therefore, when he refers to his students, obviously the students of today are teachers of tomorrow. So I think we are all here together to really take this pledge. This day is a day of inspiration, which I thought PK himself is the source of inspiration by which we all could be reminded that, dear boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, students, teachers, fellow students, teachers, a nation's tallness is judged by how tall are the teachers of that nation. If the country has to grow tall, if the nation has to grow tall, obviously the teachers have to be tall. Tall, quote unquote. Everybody need not be as tall as Anupam Verma in height as well as in science. But I mean to say that the tallness which is required is amazingly required. I would say that, let me not reassert, which has been just said, that quality education and human resources are the main capital of any nation. And if that capital is growing with the kind of treasure that we assign to it, obviously the nation will grow. I thought on this occasion it will be very important for me to quote one or two extremely important sayings which came from Bharat Ratna Radhakrishnan ji, and it is, a life of joy and happiness is possible only on the basis of knowledge and science. He also said that the end product of education should be a free, creative man who can battle against historical circumstances and adversities of nature. Our country is facing both of these crises today. Towards this goal, then, we must recall that the humanity to those moral roots from which both the ardor, discipline, devotion, dedication, and freedom of thinking spring should be respected. This is the commitment which we have to hold to ourselves. Also, this is a day of reflection on the concern expressed by none lesser than the Honorable President of India, as you all know, Pranab Mukherjee ji, on the eve of the Independence Day, only about 2-3 weeks ago, he expressed the major concern to the nation is the decline in our educational standard, which I thought is something on the reflection of our Teachers' Day we should be able to really reflect. However, we consider ourselves, notwithstanding our achievements that we have made, but as PK mentioned, if you look at the human development indices of India, you look at the science indices of India, you look at the rankings of the universities of India, these are all a matter of concern, which probably, obviously, if we have to hold our head high in the so-called vibrant India, we cannot ignore something which is so fundamental for our own security of the honor that we must be able to respect. I would also take this opportunity to ask a couple of questions. Can we say at this stage that we can introspect ourselves whether we are equipped and prepared to produce such teachers and leaders who would navigate India and lead us through the changing waters of socio-economic, political, cultural changes which are taking place so fast today in the world, and particularly can half of the population of India, which is farmers, which I think nowhere in the world we will have about 6 million people, 600 million people looking towards you for their security, livelihood, and peace and happiness security. Can our teachers express with confidence that we have the navigators of those difficult waters which are still not able to let us navigate through the progress of India. Our farmer continues to suffer, continues to be one third, one fourth in terms of livelihood security as compared to those who are not farmers. So we live in two Indias already. Therefore, can we combine India? Our teachers who are in IRI, nowhere in the world we have this kind of galaxy of people who could really think of the nation as a whole. Also, I have a question. Do our teachers and students have the motivation? Do they have the support that is required for them? If not, then we ask our leaders, then we ask our prime ministers, then we ask our education ministers, secretaries, whatever is required. Then we ask them, please do make it so that whatever is required to make it happen, you support them. Can we render then, with these experiences, the global hub of India? If the Prime Minister says, make in India, could we be prepared to have in India as a platform to be the global hub of the outstanding scientists all over who will be shining in the world? I would also like to just say, finally, my fellow teachers and students, let us pledge therefore today that we shall not settle for anything which is less than a great teacher who inspires. We were privileged to listen to one such great teacher, Professor Pushpendra Kumar Gupta. As you all have witnessed, he is a great teacher and teacher researcher. You give him a challenge, even if it is quantitative genetics, biometrical genetics, you name it. He would be able to go into the depth and become one of the best teachers, even in the field which he has not navigated earlier, and he is prepared to navigate. This is what I say, the unnavigated waters could be scaled and you could be able to take the country to the other side. This is where we have to really take opportunity like this. Professor Gupta, I'm so happy. As a former colleague of yours, I have seen you. I can verily testify to each one of you. His outstanding devotion and excellent to teaching and research, and a researcher teacher and a teacher researcher, which I think is an outstanding combination for everyone today. Dear teachers, ladies and gentlemen, India's all-rounded development is at crossroads. If our President of India is concerned about education, mind you, education is the most fundamental pursuit of any nation to make that nation great and different and elevated. If this is not happening, I think we all have a reason to be concerned. Towards a scientifically rich and academically sound and a prosperous, vibrant India, we need Pushpendra. He is the king of flowers. Pushpendra means Hindi. And you all know we need people like Pushpendra at all levels, not only higher education, at the lower level, in the public sector, in the private sector, you name it. I think that is what we have to do. Pushpendra, we have not been able to still come to terms of cloning people like you, but you know what I mean, that he needs to be cloned at all levels. With these words, we express our gratitude for your outstanding exposition of the hard facts. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. May I now request our vibrant director, Dr. Trilojan Mahapatra, to kindly do the honor of presenting a memento to the chairman of today's function, Dr. R.B. Singh, as a token of our affection and respect. I now request our beloved Dean, Dr. R.K. Jain, to kindly felicitate speaker of today's session, Professor P.K. Gupta, with a memento as a token of our love and respect. Everything that has a beginning should end, but the end should be a happy one. As we say, there is no sky without stars. A function like today cannot be done single-handedly. It's time to acknowledge all those who work behind the curtain, and I now request Dr. Vinod, Professor Genetics Division and President of the Genetics Club IRI, to present the formal vote of thanks.
Honorable Dr. R.B. Singh, Chairperson of today's function, our most valued guest speaker, Professor P.K. Gupta, a distinguished teacher and a scientist, Dr. T. Mahapatra, Director IRI, Dr. R.K. Jain, Joint Director Education and Dean, dignitaries of the dais, faculty members and students. It's my privilege and honor to propose the vote of thanks on this important occasion. The birth anniversary of Dr. Sarvepalli Radhakrishnan is celebrated as Teachers' Day every year. On this occasion, we gratefully remember the great educationist Dr. Sarvepalli Radhakrishnan, whose dream was that teachers should be the best minds in the country. This day also provides us an opportunity to pay respect to our teachers. Teachers have an important role to play in shaping the destiny of the society and nation. In last decade or so, there has been tremendous expansion of educational avenues. However, at the same time, there is decline in the quality of education, as has been highlighted by our guest speaker, Professor P.K. Gupta. The thought shared by Dr. Gupta on this deteriorating level of teaching will force us to think and introspect. Sir, I express my deep sense of gratitude to you for sparing your valuable time for this lecture despite your busy schedule and highlighting the reasons for declining teaching standards. We are extremely grateful to Professor R.B. Singh, former Director IRI, for graciously consenting to preside over today's event. We are grateful to you, sir. I would like to convey my sincere thanks to Director IRI, Dr. T. Mahapatra, for his generous guidance and support in organizing this function. A special word of thanks to Dean and Joint Director Education, Dr. R.K. Jain, for his inspiring guidance and support to make this event a great success. My thanks also go out to all the dignitaries for having taken out time to be present on this occasion. I also express my heartfelt thanks to Dr. A.K. Singh, Head Division of Genetics, for his constant support. I would like to record my deep appreciations to all those whose untiring efforts have made this event possible. A big thanks to Dr. K. M. Manjaya, in charge AIM, Dr. Rama Prasad, Secretary Genetics Club, Shri A.K. Tyagi, Chief Technical Officer, PG School, Shri Ashwini Kumar, AAO PGS 1, Mr. Rawat, AAO PGS 2, Shri Dilip Kumar, AAO ENP section, staff from the transport section, Mr. Bansal, and his team for making all the arrangements in the auditorium and all the participating students. Finally, I would like to thank all the faculty members, scientists, students for their presence on this occasion. Once again, thanks to each and everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Be a candle, be a light, be a twinkle, be a hope, be an inspiration, be a great teacher. Thank you all once again for gracing this occasion. Please join us for a cup of tea outside. Thank you.
She